Welcome to Ouch. Was that a ghost? This podcast may contain graphic material, which some listeners may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
Help me.
Now that we covered that, here's your host, Liz.
Welcome back to Ouch, Was That a Ghost? This is a true crime case, which I haven't done for a while, and people have been complaining about, and I listen, I read the comments. Most know the show Dexter, which was a show about a forensic blood spatter analyst working for the Miami Police Department, helping solve murders. And at night, he was living a double life as a vigilante serial killer, which he justified because the people Dexter would kill were murderers who escaped justice, which Dexter was a freaking amazing show. I liked how they ended the original Dexter, but I couldn't get down with, I think I made it through the first episode and I'm like, yeah, I can't. It's like Prison Break. Like it was ended on perfection. Don't try to reboot it. So this case is an example of when a TV show may have been a blueprint. So the person in this case is known as the Dexter Killer. This disturbing case, unlike Dexter, was not fueled by punishing those who had gotten away with murder. His ambition seemed to have been inspired by or fueled more so by filmmaking. September of 2008, 33-year-old Giles Tetrault was on a dating app. Plenty of Fish. I didn't know that was a Canadian dating app, by the way. I've heard of it a lot. Of my friends have used it around here in the United States. That's why I don't know. I guess they can be everywhere. I just didn't connect it with Canada. So Giles matched with Sheena, a 5'6", pretty blonde woman. They messaged back and forth for a while. Then they made plans to meet up in person, to go for dinner or in a movie. Sheena gave detailed directions, not an address, for their in-person meetup. He followed the directions and instructions. And Sheena told him, I'll just leave the garage door open for you and you can just go right in through the garage. Giles, excited, he was running a little bit late. He followed the instructions and they ended at a garage. So he entered this dark garage in Edmonton. He looked for the door that was part of the instructions to go into the house. And that was when Giles was ambushed from behind. He looked and he saw it was a man in a black and gold hockey mask. Giles was told to get on the ground and the man had tape ready. He put it over Giles' eyes and Giles heard a jingling sound. And that's when he snapped into survival mode. He ripped the tape off, jumped up, and he saw this man holding a gun. Giles lunged at him, grabbed for the weapon, only to find it was plastic. So he was like, all right, now I got a chance, ready to rumble. So Giles tried to swing on the man, but he was weakened because the masked man had zapped Giles with a stun baton. So it took away some of his strength. It turned into a rumble. Even weakened, Giles managed to get out of the garage, only to get pulled back in. Then this badass got out again, and this time he managed to get to his car and drove out of there. He later said he thought it was a robbery or a mugging that went wrong. When he got home, he checked for Sheena's profile on that dating website again, but it was deleted, so he didn't report it, which could be an ego thing too. You know what I mean? If you have something, which is nothing to be ashamed of, but some people might be embarrassed by that. So about a week later, Johnny Altinger, who was 38, he seemed like a really nice guy. He loved riding motorcycles. He was on that dating app, Plenty of Fish, and he matched with a woman named Jen. They messaged back and forth, and then again, they made plans to meet in person. He was given instructions to go to a location, not directions, just instructions. So Johnny hopped in his red Mazda to drive to the location. So before he got there, he told his friends about his plans to meet up with this woman he met online. And they were like, what's the address? And he was like, yeah, she didn't give me an address. She gave me instructions. And they were like, yeah, that's kind of weird. So he just forwarded the instructions to his friends, the directions. So Johnny got there a little bit early, about 6:30 p.m. And he called his friends. I got there and she wasn't there. There was a guy there who was filming a movie. And he said that Jen would be right back. About an hour later, the friends got an email from Johnny saying, she's home now. I'm heading over again. Hee hee. Johnny's brother then received an email saying, quote, hey there. I've met an extraordinary woman named Jen who has offered to take me on a nice long tropical vacation. We'll be staying in her winter home in Costa Rica. Phone number to follow soon. I won't be back in town until December 10th, but I will be checking my email periodically. See you around the holidays, Johnny. This email didn't really sound like Johnny. You know how if you get a text or an email from someone, you're like, is that? And his brother was like super weirded out about this whole email. His friends got like the same emails, which was strange for everyone. Johnny was responsible. He wouldn't just like up and take off like this. His friends went to Johnny's apartment. They broke in, and what they found only heightened their concern. They found food left out, like someone was going to be right back. His passport still there, which if you're going to Costa Rica, you might need that. His luggage was still there, and his motorcycle was uncovered. And if you're a motorcycle guy, you wouldn't just leave your bike uncovered and just take off. They ended up going to the police, and they reported their concern. They also let officers know that Johnny had given them the directions that Jen had sent him on Plenty of Fish on how to get to her house. Police followed the directions, and there they found a garage. Not a garage attached to a house, more of like a separate structure that the owner rented out apart from the residential building, like almost shed-like, so it's not connected to the house. So one person lived in the residential, rented there, and one person rented the garage. Police learned that 29-year-old Mark Twitchell was renting the garage space as a film studio. A little about Mark Twitchell. He was born on July 4th, 1979, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. From a young age, Twitchell knew he wanted to be a filmmaker. He went on to study radio and television arts at the North Alberta Institute of Technology. He graduated and then got married to his first wife. They divorced after 4 years. In 2005, Mark was poking around on a dating website, and there he met his future wife. Within a few years, they were married and had a daughter. By 2007, Mark, now with a wife and daughter, was on his way to make his dreams come true, filmmaking. He directed a Star Wars fan fiction film titled Star Wars, Secret of the Rebellion. I've never seen Star Wars. I've seen the Family Guy Star Wars, so that must count. But it was a prequel to Star Wars Episode 4. In 2008, Mark Twitchell, who was a Dexter superfan, shot a horror film called House of Cards. He was shooting it in that rented garage in Edmonton. It was about a man who uses online dating to lure men to a kill room. So the police went and they found Mark. They got his phone number and they called him and they were like, have you seen this guy, Johnny, that's been around here? Have you seen his car, the red Mazda? And he was like, no. And the police were like, can we search the garage you're renting? And Mark was like, sure. He was super helpful. I'll meet you at the garage. And when Mark got there, he was like, this padlock is wrong. This isn't mine. And the police were like, okay, well, you're renting it. Like, can you just break it to get in then? And he was like, sure. So he did. The police inside found a table in the middle of the floor, and on the side of it, what appeared to be blood. And Mark told the police how he makes films and fake blood is used in it a lot. It's made with corn syrup, and this mixture takes a long time to clean up after. And he's still in the process of cleaning it all up, which seems plausible if he's a film guy and, he's just a young guy, married, new kid. He was brought in to be questioned at the station, and he claimed to never have heard of Johnny. He was helpful. And I guess through the whole interview, he kept trying to talk about his Star Wars fan fiction movie. And the police were like, yeah, but we're talking about this missing man. It's like, that's kind of weird. But they found Twitchell pretty believable when they rewatched the tapes. At some point, they brought him in multiple times to speak to him. It was voluntary that he came in. And Twitchell was like, oh yeah, I bought this red car off a guy. And they're like, So they asked him to come back in for more questions. And Mark told them how he was in his car and a man walked up to him and was like, hey, buddy, you want to buy a car? And the guy told Mark, this is Mark's story, that he met this rich lady that's buying him a new car, and Mark bought the car for $40. This red car was at his friend's house, which the car was the same car as Johnny Altinger's. But basically they said, oh yeah, he said, yeah, that car is now parked at my friend's house. And then the police went and spoke to the other people that worked on the film with Mark Twitchell. And they were like, how much fake blood did you guys use? And they were like, we didn't use any. So they were like, Authorities confiscated Mark Twitchell's laptop and his car. And they went to Mark Twitchell's house and spoke to his wife about their suspicions. And thankfully, she divorced him soon after. After she learned that they were looking at Mark for a man's disappearance, which they were already sleeping in separate rooms, because Mark, who lost his job, he never told his wife. He would just leave every day like he was going to work and basically living off the investors' money for the movies. And this shitbag was having an affair with an old girlfriend. And he would just spend all day on social media talking about how he's like Dexter. And he'd be making all these, costumes, which whatever, if you're into making fan fiction costumes, but he's a next level creep. So when his car was done being processed, the car that had vanity plates DRKGEDI, so like Dark Jedi, loser, they found blood that matched Johnny Altinger's. Mark Twitchell was arrested 3 weeks after Johnny's murder. And on the 48 Hours episode about him, they said that he peed his pants while being arrested. Haha. He was charged with first-degree murder. The police found in his laptop how Mark Twitchell described that somebody got away. And while they were searching Mark's house, also described in his laptop was this mask, this black and white mask that he used in his writings on both attacks. So the police went on the news and said, like, if you were the man that was attacked, could you please come forward? Because a man was killed after being lured, which sounded like the same thing that happened to the first person. And that's when Giles saw on TV that that mask was the one that he saw in the garage that night, and he realized that he survived a murderer, not a robber. There was extensive media coverage of this case. Everyone had an opinion. And during the trial, Mark Twitchell did admit to killing Johnny Altinger. They believe that Mark Twitchell ambushed Johnny Altinger, bludgeoned him, and stabbed him to death. Because after he attacked Giles, Twitchell realized that the taser takes too long to take effect, so he needed to pivot. And when Johnny came, he used a lead pipe when he attacked him and then stabbed him and ended up cutting up his body. And then he unsuccessfully tried to burn his body. And then he just put him into trash bags, the pieces of him, and dumped him down a sewer. And then Mark Twitchell broke into Johnny's house and sent those emails out. Twitchell tried to make it seem like the whole thing, luring the people to the garage, was a publicity stunt for that movie he was making, and he ended up killing Johnny Altinger in self-defense. Throughout the trial, it was brought up many times how Twitchell was interested in Dexter and how he appeared to identify with Dexter Morgan, the vigilante serial killer on the show. On his laptop, police recovered a deleted file, a 42-page document titled SK Confessions. In SK Confessions, which the SK many believe to stand for serial killer confessions, it's written in first person, and the author describes his evolution into becoming a serial killer, which he didn't, but he tried to. Mark Twitchell was like, oh, that was just a creative writing exercise, a script. And a famous line from this document being, quote, listen how corny he is, this story is based on true events. The names and events have been altered slightly to protect the guilty. This is the story of my progression into becoming a serial killer. Loser. In this document, it told of a man that got away and how another man was murdered. That sounded a lot like what actually happened in real life, including the timelines, evidence, victims' accounts, like they all matched up. And when Giles came forward to tell the police what happened, they pretty much already heard the story before because it was exactly like what the SK Confessions described, which is how they assume how Johnny's death and aftermath occurred according to the SK Confessions. And he's still like, oh, no, that was just like a creative writing exercise. And Giles like, no, that's like what happened. The jury also learned about a deleted writing on his laptop titled, quote, A Profile of a Psychopath, in which the author described being a compulsive liar and living a dark inner world. A self-analysis piece on behavior. They didn't get to read this one, but they did hear about it. On April 12, 2011, Mark Twitchell was convicted of the first-degree murder of Johnny Altinger. It only took the jury 5 hours to find him guilty, and he received a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 25 years. After his conviction, Twitchell tried appealing, citing the extensive media coverage. He said, quote, the media attention surrounding my case was so extensive, so blatant, and so overtly sensationalized that it's unreasonable to expect any unsequestered jury to have remained uninfluenced by it, regardless of the judge's instructions in the charge. But this never went anywhere, thankfully. By 2013, Twitchell bought a TV for his cell, and he was able to catch up with Dexter episodes. And in 2017, he signed up for an inmate dating site. Giles Tetrault made several media appearances related to his experience, including Dateline, NBC, 48 Hours, just to name a few. And if you are interested in more of this case, he also wrote a book titled The One Who Got Away, I'm sorry. Mark Twitchell was eligible for parole in 2023, but thankfully he's still incarcerated at Bowen Institution, a medium security facility in Alberta. And even as recent as 2026, he applied to leave to go see his parents, but the parole board was like, no. So thankfully he's sitting there and hopefully rotting for a very, very, very long time. He's such a shitbag. And if you look at all his pictures, like, I don't know, something about how he poses, he just has a very kickable face. But yeah, he's a complete piece of shit. And I hope that his ex-wives and his child can, manage to get through, heal the best they could after dealing with this fuckface, this kickable fuckface. This guy, Johnny, lost his life for what? Freaking nothing. But yeah, that's the case of Mark Twitchell. I appreciate you guys all for listening. Till next time, everyone.
Thank you for listening. If you need more content or just want to help support the podcast, head on over to patreon.com and search Ouch, Was That a Ghost? If you need some snazzy merch, you can find it at crowdmade.com by searching Ouch, Was That a Ghost? If you have a story you'd like to share, you can email it to ouchwasthataghost@yahoo.com. You can also find us on Facebook and all the other social media platforms under Ouch, Was That a Ghost?
Help me.
All links can also be found on ouchwasthataghost.com.